Mars was retrograde in Gemini from October 30th, 2022 till January 12th, 2023. As I mentioned before, Mars in retrograde is what resets culture. And what was reset at that time was a culture of polarization between Mars and Venus. Mars and Venus archetypes, such as, for example, Mars, the masculine, representing Republicans, conservatives, and the right, as well as, again, the masculine disposition or perspective, red pill. Then you have Venus, its polarity, which represented liberals, feminism, the democratic ideal, as well as the feminist perspective, or feminine perspective even, in healthy sense. This polarization started, among other things, the battle of the sexes on social media. It was during this time frame that Elon Musk initiated the steps to purchase Twitter, which is now called X. And because of that, it was key to cancel culture being challenged, as well as other political and social opportunities where freedom of speech was being threatened by the liberal left through Venus. The end of that cycle was reconfigured during the Cancer Mars retrograde, which was recently for 7 months. And this retrograde is about the correction and healing of our connection to our mothers through healing attachments, as well as the maturation of females in society. Other key transits that coincides with this during the Obama era, or the beginning of the Obama era, was initiated by Venus and Pluto conjunction, going direct out of Sagittarius into Capricorn. And in the same likeness, we just had Pluto and the Moon conjunct when it was going direct out of Capricorn into Aquarius. Both of these transits represents women. Venus being the adolescence of women, which includes adults who have arrested development. The same thing with Mars, the adolescence of males, or males who have arrested development in the mind, that is. And then you have the Moon conjunct Pluto on its way out of Capricorn into Aquarius, which indicates a transformation of females into a mature state. A mature state. The Moon being the mature of Venus, just as Saturn is the mature of Mars. Let's understand that. The Moon representing the 4th house, Saturn representing the 10th house, which is the polarization of mother and father. So anyway, we now have Jupiter in Gemini. And what Jupiter is doing in Gemini, as I will explain through this discourse, through different tones, is that Jupiter is connecting us with both the 12th and the 9th house concerning Gemini themes. And those Gemini themes point at the headlines. The headlines. What are the headlines reading? What ethereal material are we being fed? And yes, because this is Jupiter, we're having an abundance of ethereal material to sort through. This is for a reason, because through the ethereal Gemini, which is finding the harmony between the head and the heart through internal conversations, challenging or testing what could be true, could be real, sorting out the details to come to an understanding, or asking the question why. All of this goes with Gemini, the intellectual. And Jupiter is here closing out the Civil War battlefield that Mars placed in Gemini during its retrograde, and is closing it with understanding. Understanding from the 12th house and understanding from the 9th house. From the 9th house, it's more of competence. And from the 12th house, it's more of universal wisdom that finds the unity, compassion, and understanding, singularity in all things. It finds the oneness in all things. So, when we consider it from the 9th house, it's more so an understanding from the head. From the 12th house, it's more so an understanding from the heart. And the head and the heart, as we know, is a duality of Gemini, as well as Pisces in some ways as well. Now, with this being the case, the headlines are key to us closing out what we were supposed to learn since the Venus-Pluto direct motion that began with Obama. In fact, if you want to look into those details, you can go to the very first video that I made on this channel. You will have to click on the old videos section and go all the way back to the very first video that I uploaded, and also the second video. That will clarify that in depth. I even recommend you to go there and come back here. Go there first and come back here. But anyway, Jupiter is having us to conclude on what we were supposed to learn since then. What were we supposed to learn about these polarizing topics between Mars and Venus? Mars themes and Venus themes, as I explained in the beginning of this recording. What were we supposed to learn? So when we're seeing headlines like we are these days, women taking down great men and foolish men who have power and wealth and influence, who just give it all away to Barbie dolls who are predators in disguise, what are we learning? What have we been learning about the ideal of the feminine, the ideal of women, the ideal of their image, their reputation, who they are, or what we used to think they were? It changes everything. It changes how we view relationships, how we view family, and the strategies that we take to relationships and family, the strategies that we take to raising children, the strategies that we take to our retirement. It changes everything because women have changed. They are not who they used to be. And without us saying good or bad, they chose to be a certain way, and we have no choice but to accept who they've become. But we do have a choice in whether or not we want to understand what it all means. They become free and liberated. The tragedy is that with arrested development, freedom, and liberty to a 14-year-old mindset is very dangerous. So we all are helping each other to learn the dangers of freedom and liberty without accountability. What are the consequences of that? What does it cause? We also are learning that romance and chivalry does not necessarily clarify what love means or what we should expect of our experience with each other or with love. Among many other factors, these headlines point at the themes of Pluto Capricorn, corruption with power and wealth and influence, politics, secret societies, Illuminati, things of that nature, okay? Very wealthy people in high places who do things that are quite unspeakable. That certainly goes with Capricorn Pluto, which is closed out. And also, South Node Libra, we are learning a lot and drawing our conclusions about who females showed us they were through the regime of feminism and liberalism. Who did they show us that they really are? If we look close at the details, was romance, chivalry, and monogamy a three-part package that conveniently put delusion, illusions, misconceptions, false ideals around how man and woman were to relate? Were they instrumental in creating unhealthy attachments? Were they in the way of having healthy connections? We should really examine that. Is the nature of man truly monogamous? We know that when a woman is in a healthy place with herself, one man is usually sufficient for her. We know that when a man is in a healthy place with himself, one woman is still not usually sufficient for him. His nature is not the same as hers, and it has been that way since the beginning of time. He tries it through the coercion of what has been socially acceptable, not wanting to be rejected, looked at strangely, judged, criticized, or even left to himself, lose the girl. So he agrees to these monogamous ideals, but he ends up failing eventually, cheating or doing whatever else. And he's held in great scrutiny for his inevitable nature. Where do we go from here in what we're learning about each other? That ideals, limitations, restrictions about man, about woman, who we're supposed to be, what we're supposed to be, what roles we play, a lot of it turns out not to be true or real. Aquarius Pluto will certainly require the realness to be expressed, the authenticity to be there. We won't be able to fake it under the power of Aquarius Pluto. We will not. We will have to come honest with ourselves and with each other and what our nature really is, what we really need, and that will inform what we could expect of each other. Honoring what we decide to be and who we learn that we really are, not attempting to force change upon another person, but simply seeking to make healthy connections with who people already are without wanting to change who they are. We have a long way to go, but we have to count the progress that we've come a long way and get into the point where we are now. Females are not the innocent, weak, helpless, damsels in distress, harmless creatures that we were groomed to think of them. They are not. There is benefit, financial, economic benefit, to feeding us romance, chivalry, and monogamy. It guaranteed the dysfunction that we all suffered from, because monogamy was never man's nature. Romance and chivalry only had man to worship and serve woman with all of his strength, even though God said, "Give not thy strength to a woman." It is contradiction to who we were created to be. Man is not here to worship woman. He's not here to just serve her as his purpose. Man belongs to God. His soul was bought with a price, and he is to serve the cause and purpose that God has for him in his heart. And it is his duty to find out what it is and get it done. And he has the choice to use a woman to meet those goals. And in exchange, he offers her security and love. That's simple, but not so simple. Jupiter in Gemini is showing us through the skies, which the sky is reference to celebrity culture, celebrity events, so that we all can look at the same picture, the same experience, and have a mental exercise with each other. Hey, what did you see in that event? Well, what did you see? I saw this. Well, what did you see? I think this, but what do you think? Well, I concluded this. Well, what do you conclude? You see, it's given us homework. That Jupiter in Gemini, it's given us abundance of homework. It's reteaching us how to find our critical thought. Why would we need to find our critical thought? Feminism and liberalism created cancel culture. And cancel culture challenged critical thought. It challenged logic. Recently, for example, there was Candace Williams, who was on a certain show with the Rainbow Guy. And the Rainbow Guy was defending the Transformer community. And Candace Owens had very simple logic, very simple critical thinking that pulverized his challenge. And among the simple things that she said, a man is a man and a woman is a woman. And he begged to differ. And he said, well, no, Candace asked him the question, well, what do you think if a white person said they were black or a black person said they were white? Would that be true? And he said, of course not, because a white person is obviously white and a black person is obviously black. And she had the same logic. Well, a man is obviously a man and a woman is obviously a woman. Because of liberalism and because of females whose arrested developmental mindset has obscured the most basic logical process of the mind into even questioning our own ability to make logical conclusions. We have gotten so deep and far into delusion behind following women's desires. We don't even know how to think at the most elementary levels. We have totally lost our wisdom. And it's because females demanded, through the power of their entitlement to their feelings, that we uphold lies, delusions, misconceptions, falsehoods, imaginary concepts and ideals. We became women in our thinking. When nothing is real, everything is just in our heads. You want to be a boy, you want to be a girl, you want to be a zebra, you want to be a fox, you want to be a horse. You could be whatever you want to be. And it's illegal for you to challenge a person on that. Let the boy go in the girl's bathroom, let the girls go in the boy's bathroom, vice versa. Parents, if your children want to have a sex change, you can't stop them. This is a Pandora's box that Obama and African American females opened up. On behalf of the Rainbow and Transformer community, they became one. It's gotten so far, so bad to where we've lost the most basic critical thinking process. Something so natural and simple as to that's a boy or that's a girl. Because if you were to say the truth, speak the truth, you get canceled, you get shadow banned, just like here on YouTube, I'm shadow banned. You lose your endorsements. You get demonetized. There's some type of punishment for stating the obvious. There's some type of punishment for saying what is true or what is right. And it's females who did this to America. Liberal females, especially African American females. They did this to America, to where you cannot speak the truth anymore, not without great penalty or loss. You will go broke. You will suffer. Jupiter is throwing these stories back up into the air. And it's showing that there's a higher court than the earth, Libra. There's a higher court than the people, than the people's own instincts, Scorpio. The court of Sagittarius. That's the highest court, the court of heaven. And the court of heaven has its own timing in which it brings justice. And sometimes it's quite delayed. But we're being shown that. Jupiter rules Sagittarius, the highest court. It also rules the imagination through Pisces. So, with these things to consider, our ability to have critical thinking again without fear of punishment is being restored by the power of this universe. I will explain later on in this discourse as you listen the further details about Scorpio court. You can also refer to my video, The Three Courts. If you scroll on down, that was maybe, I would say 3 weeks ago, where I released that discourse about the three courts. If you have questions about that, ask down below in the comment section, and I will clip it for you so that you can have direct access to it. I'm here to help however I can. Now, we want to pay attention to the Jupiter and Gemini because as you observe headlines of current events, that's where we get to see how we judged, the difference of how we judged from the Libra court, which was pre-South Node Libra, and how we judge in the Scorpio court, which is post-South Node Libra. The people, Aquarius, the collective, they are judging now according to the Scorpio court, not the Libra court. Again, if this sounds like Chinese or you don't know what I'm saying, I will help you out. I will make sure that you know exactly which video to listen to so that you understand this language, okay? I don't want anybody to be lost, right? So, because the people are now observing all of the Gemini themes from the Scorpio court, we're able to think critically now. We're able to resort to the intuition, the instincts, our own experiences, look below the surface, and evidence and proofs obviously goes with Scorpio, especially when evidence and proofs are recovered. Okay, that is a Scorpio thing. We consider the data, we consider the facts, the evidence, the proof. Now it holds credibility. When women were ruling the world prior to the South Node Libra transit, evidence and proof means nothing. The only thing that means things when women are in control of things is how you feel. How much emotion that you can put into a certain decision or conclusion. It is never about the truth. It is never about facts. It is never about evidence. It is never about who is right, who is wrong, what is good, what is bad, what is morally justified. It is about nothing but what females feel entitled to have as a conclusion to satisfy their own selves and to preserve the status in society that they wish to have prolonged. That is their strategy. It is never about the truth with females. Understand? So they don't mind lying, exaggerating, sending people to prison, vilifying or tarnishing a reputation. Females who lack understanding, they do not mind to do it. It's all about the entitlement of the feeling. The headlines are showing all these things. Powerful men are being taught a lesson. And as the powerful men betray their wisdom for the lust, betray their wisdom for their desires, betray their wisdom for more power, for greed, for ego, they suffer the consequences. And all of them are falling down to women. Women are banking up, cashing in millions and millions of dollars at a time, one powerful man after the other, all because men have not learned to obey their wisdom. Men have not learned to get over their ego. Men have not learned to stop simping, to stop worshiping females. It is men's fault that women are taking so long to learn the lessons. Were it not for simps, females can learn, and they can learn very fast, but they have arrested development, and it's because of the simp. The Captain Save-A-Ho ass nigga is why it's taken so long. It is their fault. Females are going to be females. And when they're not raised with fathers in that covering, and when they do not have husbands, they lack understanding. They lack the ability to produce critical thought. They lack the ability to step outside of the entitlement of their feelings. They become damaged goods. They become dangerous because although their development is arrested in their mental capacity, their power is still potent because they are females. The vagina has more power than anything that wields power in life. Nothing has more power than a vagina. Nothing. It has the power to destroy kingdoms, to erase a whole genealogy, to divide a family, to extract millions or billions of dollars, to take down whole nations. It has power. But imagine that much power being carried by someone who only reached the mental development of a 14-year-old child. Understand, this is the problem. Feminism has arrested the development of females. Feminism was deliberately engineered into the infrastructure of society. It disempowers men. It weakens men. It separates the fathers and the husbands from the family unit. And because of that, women are not covered. And when they are not covered, the story of Adam and Eve in the garden, it just continues to repeat itself over and over and over again until God comes and says, Adam, where art thou? Okay, the story continues to repeat itself. So we need to know where we're at. And where we're at is concluding what we learned after Mars Gemini retrograde polarized the culture. What do we learn from those civil wars politically between conservatives and liberals, the left and the right, Republican, Democrat, male, female? What do we learn? And what we are supposed to learn is the unity. And that goes through Jupiter Pisces. The unity is that we dissolve the illusions of separation. We dissolve the illusions of differences. We dissolve the illusions of pretense for competition. And we're able to see that all of us are striving for the same outcome, which is freedom and liberty. But when we are unhealthy, when we don't know how to heal, when we don't know how to create security, stability, and advocacy in productive ways, we go about seeking that freedom and liberty at the expense of others' rights and others' needs. And we have a big ball of confusion. Women simply want to be free and they want to have their liberation. And they have their wish fulfilled. But the only problem is that they didn't learn accountability. And so, even though it affects others the way it does, we have to have the compassion to know that they are on the other side of understanding that. And when they get on the side of understanding that accountability is the only thing they are missing, a lot can change. We also are at the point where we see what happens to a society when you alienate fathers from the children, when you vilify men and fathers and husbands. What happens when you socially engineer into a society to have females to initiate divorces at a rate of 70%? What happens to the people? What happens to the children as a result of that? What is the ultimate end result of feminism itself? Well, you look in the African American community and you will see exactly what feminism will produce if you keep on that track. There's so much to learn. The Puffy and Casey trials, the Me Too movements. You have LPG Qua, a talented, gifted, very positive rapper who got killed for a necklace. You have Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion on headlines. These things are important to look at because it walks us down memory lane of what we were supposed to be learning. And we can step outside ourselves and say, at one point I might have concluded this, but today with what I have come to understand, I'm concluding this. Have we grown in our understanding and maturity? Do we get the picture yet about accountability, responsibility? Can any of these men who fell to women, can we really blame it all on the women? No, you can't. And can we conclude that success is in how much money you have, your status, celebrity status, notoriety, power, and all these different things? Is that really success? It can't be success. It can't be. Because you could get that high up with all of those things and you can lose it in an instant to a pretty woman. You lose every bit of it. Success is in who has a plan that includes obedience to your wisdom. Success is a person who does not betray the wisdom. That person becomes successful. No matter where it takes you to never betray your wisdom, you are successful. Because that's what men are missing. The same way that women are missing accountability for how they use their free will. Men are missing accountability for how they betrayed their wisdom. And the consequences are so obvious in the sky. And we see it every day. But are we learning? Do we have to go through what they went through in our microcosm of a way in our small-scaled world? Because every celebrity we can relate to, they may do a very big mess, but we have the same mess in a small microcosm way that we can learn from them in our own reality. Are we really paying attention and learning the lessons here? Book of Sirach Sirach, you should write that down, was taken out of the Bible for a reason. Okay? It told the truth about women. It told the truth about women's nature. That would not have worked well with the idea of introducing romance, chivalry, and monogamy into the world. It's a three-package deal. Monogamy, romance, and chivalry, they all work hand in hand. It upholds an illusion, an imaginary ideal of how man and woman is to relate. And it never comes true. In reality, it only produces expectations that have painful endings. The devastation of disillusionment. The devastating pain of having expectations in these dreamy ideals. But the truth of it cannot be confirmed by the nature of man or woman. None of it. So now we're getting at a place where romance and chivalry, as they say, is gone. Chivalry is gone. Romance is gone. Yes, because it's supposed to be gone. It was never a part of our nature in the first place. It was art. It was art. So now that we got that out the way, how do we relate now? Through wisdom, through purpose, through healthy connection and not attachment, through honor and respect of each other's free will and autonomy, fortified with healthy boundaries, fortified with infrastructure of values and principles, morals, good character. Visionaries coming together to collaborate and create greater innovative concepts and ideals that we all need as a service in this world. Romance was in our way. Chivalry was in our way. And monogamy, insisting it upon men, was simple coercion, and it was in the way of them being true to themselves as well. It was never true that a man was monogamous. We are at the truer and more authentic versions of ourselves, of our relationships, and of the community that's supposed to be here in the earth. But first we had to go through the painful realities, and we still are, of shedding away the falsehoods, the illusions, the lies, the art that confused all of it. No one got to understand love because romance and chivalry was in the way of making the connection to true love. No one got to appreciate and honor who man really is because monogamy has always obscured the ideal of what his nature was. And he gets blamed for acting on his nature after attempting to uphold what was not his nature in agreement for the idea of keeping the girl if he agrees to it. But it was never his nature. That suppression produces shadows, and those shadows are in the forms of him sneaking out here and sneaking out there, and he's going to cheat somewhere because he can't erase who he is. He can't pretend like it's not in his nature. Nature will overcome the lie. Now, man must make and construct a safe place for his true self to be honored and accepted in the society, just like women do. Women don't want to live the version of the story that was already laid out for them. They have a different idea for themselves, and that's just fine. That's just fine. They simply have to be accountable to what all of that will include. The same thing with men. As we are being ourselves, we might offend others who have ideals that they prefer us to fulfill. That comes with the territory of being authentic. As females are striving to be their more authentic version, which is not so innocent, not so pure, not so soft, not so weak, we have to accept the reality of who they really are, because it's not entirely a bad thing. In fact, none of it is a bad thing. It just simply has to be embraced, facilitated, put behind accountability and boundaries. And we all can be happy with it and acceptance. And man needs the same thing. Accommodation for our nature, mutually. So anyway, in this discourse, I'm going to explain a couple of things. It might take a little while, but those videos that I mentioned, I really think it's more important that you go to those first and then come back. The 3 courts, as well as the very first 2 videos that I uploaded to this channel. That video, it has an image of Obama on it, okay, the very first video. You will know it by that, all right? So anyway, any questions, comments, concern at this point, this is a good place right here to ask questions or comment so I can get you caught up and help you out. Again, we're here to learn. We're here to learn. Use your head. Use your head. Try not to get into the trigger places. Okay? We've got to open our minds. We've got to open our minds. Jupiter is at Gemini. We have to open our minds. Expansiveness. Social media blended with the American-led feminist society. It infiltrates the think tank of the entire world. It causes the female perspective to have considerable influence on how we're evolving in our thought process. Because at home, there haven't been fathers in the West. Because at home, fathers have been alienated. Men have been alienated and vilified. Husbands have been alienated, vilified, silenced. There's not a balance. Women should be heard. Their perspective needs to be heard. But what feminism does is it overwhelms the narrative with female sentiment and with emotional entitlement of the female perspective. Here in the West, well, in America, children, too many children, grow up without their father's influence to their thought process, without men teaching them how to think. You can hear it when you have conversations with them. You can hear it in the way that they approach conflict resolution. You can hear it in their discussions on panels and podcasts. You can see that no man was involved in a lot of society, the characters of society's upbringing and development. You can see that a man was not part of their upbringing. It is clear to see. We're at the place in our world where we're cleaning this up and we're healing it. And that doesn't mean to oppress women, but it means to give women their portion of accountability and responsibility behind where the imbalance is coming from. Their portion. Now, with Jupiter going through Gemini, This highlights the obvious that social media has an abundance of conversations, debates, and challenges uh, to our ethereal bodies in the collective. We're getting tons of information, perspectives, different outlooks to consider. It's rapidly accelerating our wisdom. It's rapidly accelerating our consciousness exponentially. This is Jupiter here overall. Our wisdom is on a fast track of development. You can sit and listen to a panel of 5, 6, 4 people having a discussion, sometimes passionate, sometimes intellectual, sometimes even just rude and obnoxious and disrespectful. There are different tones of conversations that you can tap into, absorb, and it expands your knowledge, wisdom, understanding within seconds. When before you would have to travel so far. I was born in 83. We would have to travel so far to have these conversations, expend so much energy, money, time to arrange such opportunities to sit in front of each other and have discussions. But now it's right in the palm of your hand. You can visit 3 podcasts and get so many perspectives and really arrive at a higher understanding than what generations before could ever dream to do. And so quickly. So, critical thinking is being given back to us through the power of Jupiter. And next, Jupiter goes into Cancer. And what that does is it takes the conclusions of our understandings to inform a new code of conduct, to inform a new standard of morals, to inform a new definition of what righteousness is. It also will inform parenthood, how we come together to create families and households. All of these things will be informed by the notes that we take from this transit consciously. And as Jupiter goes through Cancer, you're going to see that we are going to produce a different outcome from the 4th house, from the family, from relationships, based on what we have come to understand. So these dialogues, this generation of dialogues, this generation of internet panels and discussions, headlines galore, abundance of headlines. It's speeding up our ability to make contact again with critical thinking without fearing consequences of punishment as a result of that. Black Moon Lilith at Scorpio is dealing with our fears of speaking, of saying, of expressing that which the heart believes or knows to be true. Cancel culture is what caused a lot of that to be the case. Controlling of the narrative by women and by government. We still have Jupiter transiting Gemini. Jupiter still transiting Gemini. And what this is really all about is abundance and headlines. And overwhelm in headlines. There are plenty of current events. Why do we need so many headlines? Why do we need so many current events through expansiveness of Jupiter and Gemini? Why do we need so much gossip to examine and sort through? Why is the ethereal being so inflated? Before you answer that question, don't be self-righteous, because it has nothing to do with self-righteousness. Oh, that's why I don't listen to this. That's why I don't listen to that. Well, you're supposed to. You're supposed to. You're supposed to pay attention to the headlines. You're supposed to consider what's going on in the headlines. You don't have to attach to it, but you do owe awareness to the time that you exist in. Through these headlines and events, we're gaining an understanding of what energies we're moving through. And why Gemini specifically? Why are the headlines coming from Gemini? Well, you have to go back to the Gemini Mars retrograde during the same year that Elon Musk purchased Twitter, which is now called X. This was the beginning of the gender wars. It was also the beginning of the polarization of society. The left versus the right, Democrats versus Republicans, liberals versus conservatives, males versus females. And you have those who think that they're playing a righteous role by sitting on the fence. Oh, I don't take any side. I don't take any side. Well, you're worse than all of them because you don't pick a side. You're the one who doesn't have identity. You're the one who can't be decisive enough to know who the fuck you are and pick a side. You're the one. You're the one who changes colors and changes coats when it's most convenient for you. Staying true to nothing, staying loyal to nothing. So don't flatter yourself if that's you. Don't flatter yourself. The one who rides the fence causes more damage than anybody. That's the real troublemaker. The one who rides the fence. That's the real troublemaker. The indecisive coward. But anyway, that Mars retrograde it started an ethereal civil war. An ethereal civil war. And what it caused is a retrieval of the truth between us as polarities among the people. The darkness versus the light. Feelings versus logic. Air versus water. Feminists and gays versus everybody else. It has been on and popping for a minute now. And what the Jupiter and Gemini is doing is it's showing us conclusions of the experiences that we pass through. Every headline is a conclusion of a plethora of experiences that reflected those same headlines. And this through celebrities. It has to happen with celebrities because we all have to have a single view of the sky in order to get it. In order to be able to argue on the same points, reason on the same points, exercise our thoughts on the same points. It's healthy, It's constructive, it's productive if done with respect. So that Jupiter in Gemini is bringing back to the headlines examples of all of the energies that we pass through. And most of it has to do with females. Most of it has to do with females. The other portion, it has a lot to do with that old Capricorn energy of corruption. And then politically, there are coups after coups after coups in every nation. It's given us a common view of what's taking place in our world so that we could talk about it, so that we could argue it, so that there could be podcasts, discussions, debates, arguments, and everything else to sharpen our wisdom, to restore critical thought. Critical thinking was lost during the reign of feminism. Cancel culture attacked anyone who utilized critical thought to come to conclusions, logical conclusions, especially conclusions that did not support or enable the empowerment of feminism. Females' entitlement to the favor of their feelings. And the favor of females' feelings and sentiment, it put people in prison. It put people in jail. It got people killed. It alienated fathers and husbands. It caused a lot of casualties unjustly, unfairly, because of the interpretation of females through their feelings and entitlement. These transits showed us that females have no allegiance to the truth or to justice. They are only loyal to their feelings. They want the full entitlement of what they feel, of what they want to be true and what they want to be right, regardless of evidence and proofs. Their reasoning is that of a 14-year-old. It doesn't reach maturity unless they were trained, unless they were taught by a father, and then after the father, the husband. We're learning that this is how they are. And it's a crisis when they weren't raised with fathers and when they don't have husbands. Single women and women who did not have fathers in their upbringing, they have a warped perception of reality, arrested development, a 14-year-old's emotional entitlement, thought process. They conclude as a 14-year-old. They view freedom and liberty as a 14-year-old. I want my freedom and I want my liberty without the accountability. Please, thank you. If I make any errors or mistakes or faults, if I co-create something unpleasant or something that should be condemned, I should get off the hook. Why do you think females always take to social media after they fuck some shit up? After they do something that they know they shouldn't have done. Every time they get an outcome, a consequence or result that's unfavorable, what do? They go to social media. Because the 11th house is where they're guaranteed to have alliances. Alliances through gays, simps, and other feminists. They will clap for them. They will enable them. They will encourage them. They will promote them. They will say yes. And they will never say no. They will find ways to make excuses for their behavior, to justify their behavior and actions, no matter if it's wrong or right. With the mindset of females, it has nothing to do with being wrong or right. Nothing does. That has nothing to do with how they make conclusions. They conclude based on what they feel should be right, to their feelings, to their reputation, to their ego, to the image of value, the perception of value that they want others to have of them. That is what motivates them to move, to act, to make smear campaigns, so on and so forth. Females are very powerful. Very powerful. Their power's in politics. Naturally. You look at characters like DDG. What a dumbass. He watched as females took over the world, trapping and taking down powerful men who were not smart enough to keep themselves in power. And here he goes being another dummy doing the same thing. Having a baby with a puppy love fling on social media. And then she does exactly what he's seen other women doing to other men. She turns the child into a weapon. That is the little girl who played the mermaid. Her name is Holly, okay? Holly and DDG. She turned the baby into a weapon, as they always do. She used the courts as her alliances to leverage power and control over the situation and over him, as they always do. That's DDG's fault. You see, Holly is just being what all the other feminists are. It's nothing new. This has been going on for decades. But when men are not paying attention, you deserve everything that you get. DDG deserves the hell that he's going through because he can't say he didn't know better. He can't say he didn't see the signs. He can't say that people were warning him, were not warning him. He can't say any of that. He created that willingly, that situation, that outcome, because it was the only inevitable outcome that was possible with a female like that. It was all about publicity, validation, getting likes, smiling and giggling on social media. You wanted the comment section to be bigging you up. Oh, this is relationship goals, and you allowed yourself to be the dumbass to feed the people this dopamine. Thinking it was cute. He started thinking like a woman instead of thinking like a man. Thinking like a woman in that he started taking value in the comments, the validation, the noise. He allowed himself to be affected by that. He fell into the delusions of relationship ideals that are far from being realistic, that are grounded and founded in absolutely nothing but lust and attention. And he got exactly what he deserved. Then he ended up on the internet. Oh, my baby mama won't let me see my kid. She put a restraining order on me. You fucking deserve it. That's how much it costs to be a fucking dumbass. It's expensive to be a fucking dumbass. This is a time where God is trying to tell us something. God is trying to show us who women really are. What females' nature really is. But we don't want God to show us that because every time we get shown, We want to make excuses for it, cover our eyes and say, oh, it won't happen to me. It'll be different for me. No, nigga, it's not going to be different for you. The same thing going to happen to you if you're out here moving like that. If you're out here choosing these type of females, the same thing's going to happen to you. When you fuck with airheads, dizzy bitches, the pretty girls who got social media accounts that they are addicted to. The attention that they are addicted to, validation they have an addiction for. What you think is going to happen to you? You thought you were special. Look at Tory Lanez. God is trying to show us something. Tory Lanez made poor decisions with his power, with his authority, with his access to fortune, fame, success, notoriety. He had everything, but he didn't have wisdom. He had everything except for wisdom. Because why would you put yourself in that position with these type of females? Megan Thee Stallion, she's a fucking queen of feminists. She and Cardi B, and before her, it was fucking and what's her name? Hold on, I gotta slow down. What's her name? The female rapper out of Queens. Damn, how could I forget her name? Trying to remember. Anyway, I'll remember. But it was one who had a long run before her, the female rapper out of Queens. I don't know why I can't remember her name. But anyway, Megan Thee Stallion, of all females, you out here, you know, jogging between this girl and that. He's being promiscuous. Sleeping with this one, sleeping with that one, sleeping with this one. You know you want papers and you out here with a gun. Nigga, you created that experience. You created that misfortune for yourself. You're being a fucking dumbass. You betrayed your wisdom. And because you betrayed your wisdom, it is expensive. It costs you. And it almost cost him his life. This nigga got stabbed 14 times while in prison. Meanwhile, even before he got locked up, everybody knew Megan was lying. Everybody knew her friend was lying. This is what feminists do. This is what females do. We're seeing the truth of what their nature is. And see, the feminists want their queendom to last longer. They don't want it to end because they know that they are in full power. They know that they have control. They know that they are dominating the society through liberalism. They know this. And they work together to keep it alive. And the comment section is a powerful place. So everybody out there who try to jump on, you know what I mean, your righteous high horse. Oh, that's why I don't this, and that's why I don't this, and that's why I don't listen to this, and that's why I don't listen to that. Nigga, every last one of you, everybody in the fucking world is directly affected by the comment section. Even if you don't have any social media account, you're affected by it because it determines the climate, the attitude, the perception of the whole entire society. The comment section manufactures the perception of society. Why do you think there's such a big deal with the US government having such a sensitive reaction to Russian robots in social media? Why do you think that is? Because if you have enough robots through Russia or through China, you can manufacture the perception of the people. And once you manufacture the perception of the people, you have changed the direction of the power through the people. So how could anybody take the comment section lightly? No, the comment section is the source of the people's perception in this modern time. Fuck is you talking about? It is everything. So when all this stuff was going on, everybody knew these females was lying about what happened. They took, um, tests on DNA samples on the gun. Tory's DNA wasn't on it. You know what I mean? No gunpowder on his hand either. But they didn't even bother to verify it with the others who were involved, the other females involved. They didn't even bother. So how do you come to such a conclusion? You know, Rock Nation is a powerful hand, okay, behind court outcomes. We all understand that. But the part that we weren't supposed to miss is, what are the females' reactions to all of these events that we as a people get to see the celebrities go through? Okay? It has to happen with the celebrities because we all have to look at the same picture and have the same argument. We can't have the same argument if we don't see the same picture. So through the use of celebrities, we're able to see the same picture on the screen and then have the arguments to adjust our understanding, to reestablish critical thought. So that's why celebrities was part of how the Most High is restoring our critical thinking and allowing us to utilize each other to arrive at true understanding again. Because we've gotten away from understanding, we've gotten away from wisdom, we've gotten away from critical thinking. That could only happen by looking at the stars, i.e. the celebrities, okay? Because the celebrities gives us a common reality to relate to, and where we bring our reasoning, our judgment, our analysis, our insight, our wisdom together to sharpen each other's mental state, our ethereal. So this has to happen in the sky with celebrities, okay? So during that time with Megan Thee Stallion, just because these feminists are all fanned out, Megan Thee Stallion is their captain of feminism, okay, and degeneracy, they're going to defend her. Because it's not about, rather, the evidence proves that somebody's right or wrong. To females, none of that matters. The only thing that matters to them is that they know they have the power of entitlement. If they push enough emotion, if they use enough shame, insult, and guilt on other people, laughing emojis, and instead of using intelligence and logic, they use laughing emojis and making fun of people and things like that. That's the way that liberals think. That's the way that feminists think. They use laughing emojis instead of intelligence. And they shame people into silence. They shame people into cancellation. They shame people into a mute position. And it's more of them than there are people of wisdom. There's more people of ignorance than there is people of wisdom. Far more. They fill the comment section. They influence the society, especially the children who are looking up to these celebrities, and the toxic thought process, it spreads. It should be to nobody's surprise that Megan, got away with that. This is America. Females get away with everything. They get away with every crime. In family, in society, at the job, whatever it is, if you are female, America is a place where you do not have to pay for what you do and say, if you're a female. Now, more evidence comes out where one of the witnesses who were there was weighing on his conscience, as he reported, and he alleges that Tory didn't shoot Megan. Kelsey did, allegedly. She fired off 3 times. Tory tried to knock it out of hand, and it fired off 2 times in that action. It's not that it should be surprising that this is the case, but the point that I'm making, in case I'm all over the place, is that what we're learning about females is they, in essence, are born with power in the same way that men are born with authority. And that power is dangerous if it's in the mentality of a 14-year-old. They have arrested development. The reasoning, the thought process is like a fucking child. That is very dangerous for a creature who has that much power and influence to be walking around short of wisdom and accountability. You could get implicated and you don't stand a chance to defend yourself. This could happen in the workplace, at home, between husband and wife. You know, you could be a man who is a father to a daughter that's not even, yours biologically, and she could say, oh, he did this or he did that. Men in America are scared fucking shook to even be around females in ways that could get them implicated by perception. Even the perception of crime or perversion or anything like that. He touched me. He said this to me. He did that. Men are walking on eggshells in the workplace and at home, not to fall victim to that. It's like you got to have a witness over camera anytime you deal with females, because you could get Me Too'd out of nowhere. Notice that all this Me Too movement, all this believe all women type talk, all this stuff came right after the Gemini Mars retrograde. That's when all of that turned up. Why? Because you really know who a person is when you give them power. That was the peak, the zenith of the empowerment of females. That was the maximum level of freedom and liberty that females have ever in history have ever seen. From here in the United States of America was during that transit. That was the beginning of the zenith of females' freedom and liberation. And it was an exposure, because by giving them the wish fulfilled, you got to sit back and see what would they do with the power. That's when you really see the real character and nature of a person, when you give them unlimited power, unlimited access, unlimited freedom. You really see their true colors come out. And we got to see the true colors of females come out, and they are not damsels in distress. They are not weak. They are not innocent. They are nothing that we grew up to think of them. Females are nothing that we used to think of them when we grew up. We were all brainwashed to think of them in a certain air of innocence and purity. Now we know the truth, that they are anything but that. And it didn't take nobody to expose them. It just took for them to expose themselves. You give females in America camera phones, the internet, and the freedom to say or do what the fuck they want to do, wherever they want to do it, with no accountability, they are going to show the true colors. Black, African-American females are the head of all feminists. They give the marching orders for all feminists. It's African-American females. Gays And feminists of all races, creeds, colors, and demographics, they look to the African American female to know how to express feminism, how to express defiance, how to express rebellion and disrespect. They look to her. She's the example. And when you look at what she does with her freedom, the African American female, you see what is the secret lust of all other females. What is the secret desire of other females? You look at what African American females are doing, and that's secretly what all females wish they could do. That's the truth. Because African American females have no authority to tell them no or stop them. So they do whatever the fuck they want to do. Because nobody can stop them. Nobody can tell them no. Nobody can correct them. Nobody can admonish them. Nobody can teach them. Nobody. They do not respect any kind of authority whatsoever. There's no authority in the land, from the top to the bottom, that African American females getting ready to respect. So by observing the African American female, you get to see what is the full extent of the expression of feminism. What is the end destiny of feminism? Where does feminism end you up? What does it get you? What are the consequences? What are the rewards? What are the benefits? What is the outcome of living a life as a feminist? Look at the African American female and you will have to ask yourself no more. She is the embodiment of what you get from living a life as a hardcore feminist. And let's tell the truth. Nobody envies the circumstances of the African American female, even though they envy her boldness. They do envy that. They envy the boldness of the African American female, but they do not envy her circumstances. You want to rebel against your husband? You want to throw your husbands under the bus? You so eager to divorce and leave and be a single mama or a single baby mama or whatever? You want to live your life single until you grow old and gray, until your titties start sagging and nobody wants your ugly ass? Look at the African American female and that's what it will look like. That's her reality. She has become the least desirable of all women in the earth, is African American female. She is the last that anybody want to fuck with. Any man who respects himself, who has any kind of dignity, you're not looking at no African American female as what you desire. Yes, she's attractive. Yes, she's beautiful. Yes, she has all this potential and whatever else. But the state, the form of expression that she chooses right now, it's a horror. It is regrettable. It is of ill repute. A liability, a burden. It is damnation. I'm being specific. I did not say black women. I said African American women. There's a difference. So, Jupiter and Mars, if you compare the two, all right? Mars, this is like, okay, it presents a conflict. And a conflict presents, just like an oppositional square, it's two forces that have not harmonized. That is Mars and Venus, two forces that have not harmonized, because the polarity is based on Mars and Venus. Liberals, Venus. Left, Venus. Feminist, Venus. You see? Mars, conservative. Mars, Republican. Mars, masculine. You see? Okay? It's a polarization. So the polarization of the masculine and feminine was activated during that Mars Gemini retrograde transit. It took 9 months. This was also during the time that Kevin Samuels left us, okay? And when he left, his message amplified even further. It became even louder. You know, sometimes when we die, we become a hero. It takes for us to die to become a hero. His legacy left a powerful impact on people's ability to articulate the conflict between males and females. He paved the way for that to be something to explain and to reason logically. What Jupiter does is it brings understanding, competence, conclusions, a higher perspective of higher view. And that's why celebrities are used as talking points for this ethereal closure to take place. As I said, the battle of the sexes is over now. So we are at the conclusive notes of this battle, the conclusive endings of this battle. And it's not meant for us to arrive at the conclusion that women are bad and men are good. No. Or men are bad and women are good. No. It's just that we have to accept the truth of who we choose to be. Whoever women choose to be in America, we have to accept that that's who they chose to be. And when you accept that, when you deal with them, when you interact with them based on what you understand they have chosen to be. And that protects you from getting caught up in whatever it is that they chose to be. You see, I can't approach a snake without the acceptance that a snake is going to be a snake and a snake is going to do what a snake does. I have to have the acceptance first, because the acceptance is what allows me to approach it appropriately without getting harmed by it. That's part of Scorpio. If I'm going to learn to approach danger, I have to have acceptance of what I know that danger to be, so that I can properly position myself with it. This is a conclusion that's taken place. We are concluding about who women choose to be. With their freedom, with their liberty, who do they choose to be? And we all see it. Now, where the problem comes in at is when men decide not to accept who they choose to be. In other words, acknowledge the reality of females, the truth about females, and deal with them accordingly. You can't complain about what happens to you as a result of negligence, as a result of not paying that due diligence, as a result of not accepting who she really is. You're going with your imagination, you're going with your desire, you're going with your delusions instead, and you're thinking that it's going to be special or a different outcome for you, and that's not the case. Now what? Basketball player after basketball player, millions of dollars being paid out to these baby mamas and girls who sue them and Me Too them and all this other stuff. Celebrities was falling left and right. Left and right. Celebrities have been falling to females and millions of dollars of Shannon Sharps, and you know what I mean? It's just too many names to even list. The Me Too movement. Niggas was dropping like flies. And you can't put the whole blame on the females, because every last one of these niggas knew better. Every last one of them. Yes, it's fucked up that for females they made no statute of limitations. You got dusty ass broads going back to, back in 1992, he grabbed my ass. Back in 1983, he did this or he did that. And now you dragged in court from some shit that you did back in the fucking 80s and 90s that you don't even remember. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's fucked up. America favors the dysfunctional aspects of females. They take advantage of the shadow nature of females. They exploit it, they capitalize off of it, they make money off of it. There's a reason why 70% of the divorces are filed by females, not males. So when that narrative goes around of men breaking up families or daddies walking away from their children, no, that's some fucking bullshit. That is hardly the truth. Because first of all, 70% of divorces are filed by women. It's women who are mostly responsible for the separation of man, woman, child. It's women who obliged to Lyndon B. Johnson's welfare state, Section 8 and welfare and all this other stuff. And as I said, now that the lesson is over, everything that catalyzed the lesson is now dismantled as well, because there's no need for it. We already learned the lesson. See, females had to get maximum freedom so that they could expose themselves for what their true nature is, so that we as men become disillusioned of the romantic and chivalrous ideals placed about females and look at them as the truth, for the truth of who they are, because that is what gives way for healthy connections rather than attachments. Okay? And attachments are part of what carries in our imaginations. It's part of what carries in our entitlement and expectations. It's part of what goes in our negative experiences with our mothers and sometimes fathers. So for us to get on the other side to where the healthy connections are at, we had to relearn females in truth, and we had to get sober from the lie posed to us through romance and chivalry about female nature. See, there's a book called the Book of Sirach, okay? Sirach. This was taken out of the Bible for a reason, okay? Because romance and chivalry had to obscure the view of females' true nature, okay? Because if men knew the true nature of females, there would be less money to extract from the connection of male and female, because he's unprepared, okay? So if men are prepared through their wisdom of who women really are, there's very little that women can do to affect, harm, take advantage of, exploit, or manipulate a man who's aware of what females really are. So when you introduce chivalry and romance, this blinds men to the true nature of females, and what ends up happening is through monogamous marriages, which again is a part of the romantic and chivalrous movement, which is part of taxation in the state, okay? Because divorces make money, marriages make money, and divorces make money. It's a way of guaranteeing that money going back into the state. Because a man's back is what generates it. But through the divorce, a woman could extract half of it, if not more. And once it's in her hands, it's in the hands of a spendthrift, a consumer, a person who spends to emotionally pacify herself. So instead of there being a concentration of wealth, there's an exploitation of wealth through handing the wealth into the character who is more likely to be the spendthrift with the wealth. There's a science to that. There's a reason it's made this way in females, because they tend to be in arrested developmental state. Their minds cannot reach the maturity to understand what they're being used for. They can't comprehend it. It's like you take a 14-year-old or a 16-year-old, and academically they might be smarter than you, the parent, right? Okay, you got a 14 and 16-year-old and they're way smarter than you academically. You go through the books, you can't fuck with them. You know what I'm saying? They'll run circles around you. All right. But in wisdom, are they sharper than you? Of course not. You see, that's the difference. It's the same thing with modern females. It's the same thing. They might have academically, they're very intelligent. They can go to college, get these degrees, start businesses, become entrepreneurs, make a lot of money through the magnetism, power of sex and influence, charisma. But in wisdom, no, they're not very bright. Their wisdom stops at about 14 years old. But academically, they might be able to run circles around you, but they're not wiser. This is another thing that men don't understand. God bless you with intellect. God bless you with intelligence. God bless you with logic, with critical thinking. You were blessed with that. So you're ahead of her when it comes to that. You're way ahead of her. It's that you don't believe in yourself that it never shows. You doubt yourself because you mistake academic performance for wisdom, and they are nothing alike. God grounded you in logic and critical thought for a reason, and it's to protect her, the children, the family unit, the society. She wasn't given that. You got that. So no matter how many degrees she got, doctor, lawyer, or whatever else, she's still not a fucking man. That's what a lot of y'all niggas don't understand. And you got low self-esteem when it comes to how you look at yourself compared to females. You look down on yourself when you compare yourself to females because she looks a certain way. She got all this makeup on, this perfume, and she looking all nice and dolled up, and she got degrees and all kind of money and loans and stuff like this open and out. Nigga, that shit don't mean a motherfucking thing. You're a man. God placed you. How the fuck can she spend even a lifetime trying to compete with who God already put ahead of her? How can she compete with you and God already placed you ahead of her? How the fuck, nigga? I don't care if she lived 5 fucking lifetimes. She cannot get ahead of me as a man. She can't fucking do it. She'll never fucking do it. I don't care how many degrees she got. I know what God gave me, and I will always be ahead of her because of it. That's the difference between me and a lot of you niggas out there who don't believe in yourself. You don't know women. That's a big problem. You don't know women. And women know this to be true too. But they also know that you don't know yourself. They know you, but you don't know you. And that's why they're able to play your stupid ass. They're able to play games with you, run circles around you, because you don't believe in yourself. You don't know yourself. Nobody can compete or outwork what God has simply set in place. Impossible. It'll never fucking happen. Females are envious of males. And feminism exposes their envy. They made a whole movement, a whole culture, a whole regime as females to compete with males, to challenge males, to fight to have the destiny, the role, the place, the office of man. They envy the fact that God placed Adam over Eve as her covering. She don't want to be in the 4th house. She want to be in the 10th house. She don't want to be where God placed her. She want to be where God placed Adam. She envies Adam. She's jealous of Adam. And this is the case with all fucking women until they learn better, until they learn to embrace and appreciate their role, their place, which is not inferior to Adam, but it has a different aim. And they have to educate themselves on that in order to embrace it and appreciate it and cherish it, to honor it, to reverence it. But that has not occurred because there's advantage to the chaos. There's money to be made out of the chaos of women secretly envying and competing with men. They're very jealous of what men are, who they are, and what role they have. That's the simplest way to put it. All these headlines we seeing, Puffy and Casey and all this other stuff, nigga, everybody agree that Puffy is very sick. The nigga's disturbed. You know what I'm saying? He got a fucked up sexual situation with him. Something in his childhood, you know, obviously went real fucked up, okay? Between the mother and the father. Then he suffered some fucked up shit. All right? He's a fucking monster. Nobody disagrees with that. But Casey is trying to use the woman power that's available to her to paint a picture and manufacture reality that simply isn't fucking true. And as I told y'all before, if you look at my video called The Three Courts, okay, you scroll down and look for the three courts. We're no longer in the consciousness of the court of Libra. We are in the consciousness of the court of Scorpio. So what does that tell you? People are no longer going to listen to what the comment section says. They're not going to listen to what the pretty girl says, what the charismatic person says. People are going to start listening to their instincts, to their intuition, and what the fuck it says. Know that. All right? We're in the second court, Scorpio. So what would have had a different outcome when we were still in the Libra court, which was prior to, which was pre-South Node Libra era, Casey would have had hands down, like she just would have won, and Puffy wouldn't have stood a chance. Okay, because the consciousness of the people was wired that way. Just like with Tory Lanez, the consciousness of the people was still according to the Libra court, which was the mindset and interpretation of feminists and liberals. Okay, the mindset interpretation of feminists and liberals, it is dismantled, it is fallen, past tense. So now we're in the mindset and perception of Scorpio, which is ruled by what planet? Mars, okay, as well as Pluto. But Mars goes to what? Divine masculine, conservative, right, alt-right, the logical disposition, divine masculine. So this is the court that people are coming from in the algorithm of consciousness that arrives at conclusion. It is through Scorpio. So if it is through Scorpio, you're going to get at the truth. You're going to see through the bullshit. So people are seeing through the bullshit when it comes to Casey. And it's very simple. This a little whore, a little slut, a little fan, you know what I'm saying, who wanted to get slutted out. This nigga Puffy got plenty of females who are way better looking than her, all over the world, who stand in line to get peed on. They stand in line to get nutted on. They stand in line to get fucked, you know what I'm saying, all kind of weird, strange ways and baby oil down. You know how many bitches are standing in line for this nigga? If Puffy came home today, there would still be countless, thousands of females standing in line to get peed on. Casey is just one of many. And she got plenty problems. She's a whore. It ain't hard to see. She's a little fucking whore. She fucking this nigga, that nigga. She going Craigslist of all places to get somebody to pee in their fucking mouth. You going Backpage to get a nigga to nut in your mouth? A word? That's how you getting down? That tell you everything you need to know right there. See, females is trying to make this out as you got this good girl, this innocent girl, this damsel in distress this old, I meant all meaning well, meaning to do well, and she's a model and she's a star and she's pretty and she's beautiful and she don't deserve that. Bitch, she's a fucking slut. She's a fucking slut. A little whore that want to get peed on, nigga. She's a little slut that want to get nutted on and she want to get peed on. Yeah. Yeah. She want 2 dicks in the mouth, not 1. She want to get dogged out and peed on by plenty niggas. And she want to do it 5 days a week. Yeah. The evidence and proof shows that she was a willing volunteer. She asked for it. She agreed to it. She said she liked it. But you got plenty in the audience of females who say, oh no, she just saying that. But really what it is, bitch, that's your imagination. Shut the fuck up about your imagination. See, females like to take their imagination and force it as a reality upon other people. Project their imagination onto other people. Get the fuck out of your imagination and look at the fucking evidence. The bitch wanted to get peed on. She got what she wanted. She got what she signed up for. Puffy ain't make nobody do shit. Nigga, you asked for this as an adult. And you've been doing it for years. Where the fuck is a victim? You ain't one of them. If there is victims, bitch, you ain't fucking one of them. You just another slut that got peed on by niggas off a Backpage and fucking Craigslist. Shit ain't sophisticated. Niggas is seeing the truth now about female nature. Understand? Anybody who had enough females in their life, okay? And I'm speaking from experience, okay? Because I did have my time where I was a dirty, rotten scoundrel. You know what I mean? I had my time when I was a dirty, rotten scoundrel. That's how I know females. How you think I know? From reading books? No, nigga. I know women because I spent too much time with women. Yeah, I was a fucking Casanova. One thing I know, I can have any woman I want, nigga. I learned that. Once you learn women, you can't unsee that shit. One thing I know is that you got 2 guys. One guy might look at this really attractive woman, high prestige, successful and great manners, ethical disposition about herself, right? Yeah, she don't got a speck on her, well polished, and all of that. And the best he could get out of her is a little missionary sex. But a little dirty, rotten scoundrel like myself, I could get the worst to come out of her, and I mean in the best way. What I'm saying is, for me, I can make the woman who you think is the greatest thing that ever happened to you, I could get her to show me the side of her that make her fucking toilet seat to me, nigga. But I give her back to you and you be on your knees worshiping the bitch. That's what I got to see all of my fucking life, nigga. And that's why I can't unsee this shit. So when an infamous astrologist is telling you about women, I'm telling you from fucking experience. I got Venus in the 12th house. What the fuck you think that mean, nigga? I spent too much time getting busy with too many females. My father was a pimp. I'm talking about literally. Right hand to a law. My father was a pimp. The shit is in my blood. The women that other niggas is praising and worshiping, I could get them to do things that they would never see them do. I get to see the dark side of them, but they get nasty and unrighteous. I could pull the nasty out of the most proper females that you could ever imagine, nigga. Fuck is you talking about? I know women. And what she prefers is that dark, nasty. That's what I know. But she go back to you for stability. She go back to you for security. But she come to a nigga like me for the fantasy. That's every fucking woman. There's not a woman walking the earth that's not her fucking nature. And it's not wrong and it's not right. It's just who the fuck she is. That's what I know. So with Casey, to one person, they look at her without knowing that side of women. Oh, I really won here. I got a good one. Niggas is deceived by looks and status. A female's looks and status don't mean shit. They all got the same nature. And I know how to get right in that motherfucker. I know how to get in there because I know what their nature really is. I know how to undress them from that properness. I know how to disarm them from that shit, nigga. Females love to get dark and nasty. They love to get into the territories and areas of expression that's forbidden, that's dark. They crave it. And that's the one who owns her soul. You might have her attention, but I got her soul. Either way, she's the one who's the chooser. She chooses. And see, what I'm pointing at is, let's stop playing and pretending like we don't know the truth, so that we could get to the real transformation and changes that need to take place. That can't happen if we not being real. And this comes full circle to women out there. The women out there who are following on this channel, there's a few out there who understand I'm not coming from any harsh place, that understand I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not coming from any ill will toward women. There's a few out there who consistently rock with me, who understand that's not where I'm coming from. And I really do cherish those few out there. You know what I'm saying? Because if we can get transparent about things and real about things, accepting the dark and the light of who we are, imagine what we can accomplish. Imagine what we can accomplish. Anyway, this whole Casey thing, everything in the headlines, it's given us the chance to revive our critical thinking skills, the strength of our critical thinking. Cancel culture, it retarded our critical thinking. People were met with fear, control, penalty, and punishment for expressing the conclusions of the critical thought. That's what happened when liberals and feminists got in power through the Biden administration, which actually began during the Obama era. That's where it began to accelerate, when Venus was conjunct Pluto, going direct out of Sagittarius into Capricorn. This time when Pluto left Capricorn, going direct into Aquarius, it was conjunct the moon. Venus is the adolescent of divine feminine. The moon is the mature of divine feminine. So this lets me know that this transit of Pluto through Aquarius, it's about bringing women to maturity, but I can't bring you to maturity if I can't undress you first. You see what I'm saying? I got to undress you, and you got to be standing there butt booty ass naked, transparent, you know what I'm saying? And stop fucking lying and putting on this fake ass portrayal of yourself through the idealism of romance, chivalry, and monogamy. The three fucking lies. Okay? These three lies got to get out the fucking way so we can look at the truth of how males and females really do connect. Because a connection is deep, not surface. But you can't connect in the deep if it's based on a lie. The connection can only happen if it's based on the truth. And this is why the shadows got to come out as well. What is female nature? Who are women? How do they really think, operate, and move and feel? We're learning, but we're resisting the truth that's getting shown to us. Why? Because we don't want to get rejected. We don't want to get canceled. We don't want to lose popularity. We don't want to stop getting a check on social media. We don't want to get demonetized. There's too many reasons for us to keep lying, to keep playing this game. But the truth is going to prevail. The truth is going to win at the end of the day. People are starting to see the truth about women, about females. And every lesson of females, it starts with the black woman. It starts with the African American female. She starts the course of all women of the globe. She does. What she's on is what all women will be on. And even if their country, culture, society, traditions, or whatever else does not allow them to fully express it, it is what they will long for because they see her doing it. That's the fucking truth. Okay? The African American woman is the standard of females' modern expression of themselves. In verbiage, in choice words, in body language, twisting of the neck and twisting of the hands and all this other, all that shit. All right? It comes from the African American female. In the same way that the African American male owns the hearts of all of the youth. There's nobody who could dispute that. African American males own the hearts of all youth of all nations. So if there's going to be a change, it's going to be with the African American first. And this is why you see so many African Americans being the example of what's being examined. The good, the bad, the ugly. This is why their podcast is the ones that make the most noise. Their arguments and going back and forth on these podcasts, they have the greatest impact on what people conclude in society. You don't go into no podcast with white people talking and anybody actually listen to that shit. Where the fuck they do that at? Yeah, you got the Joe Rogans and all this other stuff, but what I'm talking about is where you have panels of discussions on controversial topics. That's black people that do that. White people get into politics when it comes to that, but they don't talk on social, domestic issues when it comes to that. Boots on the ground issues, that's black folks. African Americans specifically. They create the talking points that changes the views of the culture, that changes the direction of the culture. They generate that. So this is why she's first to have to face the changes. As I mentioned, certain things were catalysts to feminism coming to power, starting with Lyndon B. Johnson's welfare state. Feminism, of course, they worked hand in hand, among many other factors. But as you see today, the dismantle is progressing. Okay, Donald Trump signed his executive order to shed away Section 8 federal funding or federal support. Okay, and now going to hand it over to the state to modify the policies, and that's going to be much more strict because they have a much smaller economic capacity, as far as their approach to housing solutions for families. Okay. As you know, EBT, SNAP benefit, food stamp, the whole conversation, that has been modified in many states. Okay. Many things are going to change that enabled feminism, because we already learned the lesson that feminism was to teach us, so we no longer need the catalyst of feminism to continue teaching us the same lesson. Because now at this point, females learn who they are with freedom. They learn who they are with liberty. And they a hot ass mess. And they learn that what makes them a hot ass mess is the fact that they have to incorporate accountability with the freedom and liberty if it is to be productive for them to be free. If they are to trust themselves with their own freedom. Accountability has to go with that. Also, covering of a husband or father It's more productive to them. It is safer for them. It is healthier for them that they stay under the covering of a father and that they go straight from the father to a husband, because a single life culture ruins women. It ruins women. There are many things to be learned. So everything that upheld it is now being taken down. What females are going to find is wish fulfilled. They are just as free as a man is. Wish fulfilled. So you don't only get the benefits of that, you also get the burdens of that. And this is the part where the arrested development of American females, the 14-year-old mindset, has to catch up to full maturity. You want the benefits of being a free woman, but you don't want the burdens and accountability that goes with it. Okay? That's the difference. That's the difference. No, nobody is obligated or entitled. Nobody is obligated, and you are not entitled that somebody's earnings should pay for all your meals, buy you a house, buy you this and buy you that. You fought to be free. You fought to be liberated. You fought to be equal. Therefore, none of these things apply to you anymore in society from a social standard. And the idea of dating and so on and so forth, those things have to change because you yourself have changed. You have become a free person. And because you have become a free person, it is no longer a demonstration of a man's potential with you and how much he can afford you. Because men don't have to afford women anymore, because now women are free. You can have any job that he has. You can match any pay rate that he matches. You could even do better than him in many cases. So it is no longer true that females should feel entitled, that men should support them, pay their way, buy this or buy that. No, bitch, if you want something, buy it. If you want something, buy it. Nobody's obligated, and you're not entitled that a man should be breaking the fucking bank for you. Even if you get in a relationship, you still have self-determination, because most females are not going to want that traditional model. And guess what? You have to respect the freedom of every person. Respecting the freedom of every person is, if that's who you choose to be, then we will honor it entirely, and not in places where it just benefits you, not where it's just convenient for you. If you're free, bitch. If you're fucking free, you're free. You're free to buy your own fucking meal. You're free to worry about how you gonna get your own fucking house. You're free to wash your own damn car. Yeah, you free. Understand? You go on a date, why the fuck does a man gotta buy your fucking steak and drink? Why the fuck does a man have to pay for this and that and pay for this and pay for that? Bitch, the game is up. The game is fucking up. Yeah, ain't nobody obligated to that. You pay for yours, I pay for mine. But if I feel generous, yeah, you should be grateful for that. But to actually feel entitled, no, that's a different story. You should not feel entitled to a man going in his wallet and you all going on a date, because nothing is being proven or demonstrated of significance to who you are today, which is a free person. That applied to the context of females having limitations in their earning potential, limitations in their access to the free market, limitations in their access to jobs and careers, limitations. There are no limitations on females anymore in any of those areas. Therefore, a man is not obligated, nor should you feel entitled to his funding of your life or lifestyle or the things that you desire. No, fuck you, bitch. You better figure that shit out for your fucking self. See, it's the simps out here that won't let women learn. It's the simps. Simps are not letting women learn because it's too many niggas out here that want to be Captain fucking Save-A-Ho. You want to be Captain Save-A-Ho all the time, flying through the sky like a speeding bullet in the night with a fucking cape on, saving bitches. No. That's the problem. It's the Captain Save-A-Ho ass simp niggas that's out here fucking up the whole entire situation, so females are not able to learn a lesson. The more pretty they are, the more entitled they feel. The bigger they ass, the more entitled they feel. No, wish fulfilled. You want to be free? Be free. Buy your own house. You buy your house, she buy her house. You can still get married. It don't mean you have to move in. It don't mean you have to fund her lifestyle. It don't mean you have to pay all her fucking bills. It don't mean none of that shit. This is this is Aquarius Pluto transit. You get to make your own fucking contract. You get to set your own terms and what your relationship is supposed to mean. Just keep in consideration that you could be signing up and consenting for terms that do not reflect the circumstances. Y'all niggas better get smart. Better get some fucking pimping in your blood, nigga. Because a lot of y'all just playing yourself. While I'm saying that, let me bring it back up. The same girl you on your knees for, baby, just give me a chance. Come on, baby. Why you ain't answering my call, baby? Why you ain't returning my text message, baby? I texted you earlier, baby. Yeah, you know you the only one for me. You know I love you, girl. Yeah, no, girl. Come on, girl. Don't treat me like that. You running up behind her, worshiping her. You all on your knees with your sorry, sad ass. And another nigga over there peeing in her mouth. And she love it. You know what I mean? The same girl you worshiping. You see like a fucking holy grail. You hold her up like a white rag with no stain. But she go down the street to so-and-so who dogging her ass out. Yeah, and she love it. She like it. She like being dogged out. Yeah, you don't want to accept that reality. That's your sorry ass doing that to your fucking self. You worshiping this female. You running behind her. All this romance and chivalry, buy her flowers. Don't forget no important day and answer all her calls. If she cry, you come running. So on. You have a sad life as a bitch ass nigga. And you should look in the mirror and say, God, forgive me for ever being a bitch ass nigga. It's a price to pay to be a bitch ass nigga. It's a price to pay to be a simp. Yeah, you gonna suffer. Cause the same girl who you worshiping, another nigga is dogging her out. And she love it. You spending all this money to take her on dates. You spending all this money to keep her happy. You working extra hours, 12-hour shifts, killing yourself, tired, trying to get overtime so that you could keep her happy and keep her attention. The other nigga got a stick of bubble gum and a hard motherfucking dick. Take her to Popeyes afterward to drop her ass off, nigga. Yeah. You doing all that shit for nothing. You buying a cars, buy a house. You doing this and that. You listening to all this bullshit on standards and boundaries that she got and all this other stuff. But the other nigga across the street, yeah, she ain't got no boundaries for him. She don't got no rules for him. There's never a no. It's always a yes. And he take her by Popeyes after he get done peeing in the mouth and drop her off to you and you kiss her in the mouth, nigga. Yeah. That's your sad ass life, nigga. Get the fuck up off your knees. It's what I'm trying to tell y'all. Don't you know that you are man formed in the image and likeness of God? Do you know what that mean, nigga? Women envy you as men. They want to be you. They want to be just like you. They want your destiny. They want your image. They want your nature. They want everything about you that God gave you. Allah gave you his own image and women envy it. But you over there worshiping her in the image and likeness of Allah on the floor? You gonna put that shit on the floor, nigga? Pick that shit up and honor it. And walk in the light that God gave you. Yeah. This is things that I know to be true because I lived it. I lived it. I let that other nigga over there buy her a house, buy her cars, keep her happy by spending and spending and spending. I'm a dog ass out. Yeah. Get her some church's chicken and send her ass home. Yeah. And guess what? I made her more happy than you did. She think about me more than she think about you. And all I had to do was pee in the mouth, nigga. Now, how that make you feel about yourself? That's the reality. And yes, that's every fucking woman, nigga. But you don't want to accept that. Because you so lovable. You say, oh, I love you, baby. I'll always be true to you. I'll never hurt you, baby. Yeah, baby. Nigga, get off your knees. That ain't righteousness. That's not pious. That's not love. That's pathetic. That's pathetic. And you're fucking disgusting. Get yourself together, nigga. Fuck is wrong with you, man? Have some dignity. You're a man. You're a man. And that's part of the problem. She can sense that you don't feel that way about yourself. When you feel the right way about yourself, she falls in line because she can pick it up. She senses it. I ain't never had that problem with no fucking woman, nigga. Because I always knew who the fuck I am. Yeah. And she treat me the way that I believe I am. Yeah. Every woman I've ever had a dealing with treat me the way that I believe I am. I'm the one who made terrible choices behind that, got carried away with it. Understand? I'm the one. That's why I stay away from women. That's why I don't, you know what I mean? I don't get on that tip. I've been celibate going on almost 5 years now, nigga. Yeah. I ain't out here fucking. I already learned them lessons. And I'm reporting it to you. But will you hear the infamous astrologers? Understand? Come on, man. Get yourself together. That's how I want to see you, man. I want to see you men out there, you know, standing in your real light. I'm not telling anybody to mistreat women. I'm not giving that message, so please listen to me clearly. I've never, ever given a ticket to go out there and dog women. Now, I ain't never said that, all right? So don't put that on me. Right? Don't put that on me. Let's get that clear. You need to choose a woman and focus with her, the appropriate woman. But what I'm saying is, stop being a part of the game and know the game. Play chess out here. Stop being a fucking pawn. Stop being stupid. Romance, chivalry, monogamy. Yeah, it favors a woman. And it keeps men in fucked up situations. See, I have to draw on my shadows to come out with this. Because if I'm not in tune with my shadows, I would hesitate to say, I would hesitate to explain, I would hesitate to express. Why? Because nobody likes you when you say these things. Nobody likes you, especially women. They don't like you when you say these things. Unsubscribe, you know what I mean? Shadow ban, all that. Yeah, that's what comes with it. I'm the infamous, and this is why. Are we learning the lessons that we're supposed to learn? I hope so, because these things are happening for a reason. As Jupiter passes through Gemini, we're supposed to be restoring our critical thinking skills, our critical thinking capabilities through Scorpio, seeing the truth for what it really is, accepting the truth that we see, knowing the evidence and proof is before us, and not trying to change it to fit our preference, our desire, our emotional entitlement, or our desires, but accepting truth as it is, having that resilience. We're being saved from what feminism and liberalism has manufactured of our consciousness, to see everything in delusion. Understand? Generation and generation of children raised by single mothers became just like their mothers. They argue like their mothers, they think like their mothers, they conclude like their mothers, they emote like their mothers. And so nobody is able to reach intelligent conclusions. Nobody's able to critically think anymore, because we have become a people who are just like our mothers. Single parent raised generations, decade after fucking decade. And you don't have intellect because of that. You don't have a strong intellect. Jupiter is trying to restore the intellect. It's females that's always going to keep pushing back, and simps that's going to keep pushing back, trying to make you feel guilty or trying to make you feel bad or angry or frustrated or whatever else for coming to the correct conclusion. Because anytime you say the truth or you say what's right or true, they come with the laughing emojis, talking shit. They work together. They try to do anything to get the truth from moving around. They want their feelings and their perceptions, their emotional entitlement to be justified. And they want you to help them to do it. This is over. Females now will have to have full accountability from the Section 8 changes, self-determination. Liberalism is now disempowered. The best they got is Jasmine Crockett's ghetto ass. Come on, man. Everything that was upholding them is disappearing. And with that goes the false sense of confidence. Look at affirmative action. What was that, 2 or 3 years ago that got taken down? The DEI policies, which wasn't just about black women, it's about females overall, because really white women benefited more from DEI than black women. That's the truth. Okay? But still goes to show that everything that gave females a false sense of entitlement, a false sense of pride, a false sense of value is now being taken away. Okay? And so now, if you are to strive for a certain value or status in your life, you have to get it by actually becoming the value rather than having handouts, entitlement, excuses and passes because you got a fucking vagina. You will only be able to brag about what you have actually accomplished. Females have a serious crisis with value. They long to be valuable. They want to be known or seen as valuable. They want to be perceived as valuable. But the crisis is they don't want to do the work that actually makes them valuable. They don't want to abstain from that which takes away from their value. They don't want to honor that which preserves their value. That is part of the problem with value. So they have to spend lots of money looking like a value that they actually are not. Gotta understand this.